When you get to the highest levels of MMA, everyone and their mum knows how to stop a double leg if they get a good read on it. Frankie Edgar's success in MMA has been built almost entirely on his ability to blend his striking and his takedown attempts. The first and most important part of Edgar's success is his ability to read and anticipate his opponent. No matter who Edgar fights, they know he probably wants to take them down at some point, and to make them forget that, he has to get them into a boxing match. He can't do that in ones and twos, so he has to commit to actual combination punching and landing his short right hand. This can be tricky as Edgar often gives up so much height and reach to his opponents, but most of his best hitting comes in catch and pitch counter combinations. Nothing draws an opponent into a firefight as quickly, and soon Edgar is ducking in under their right hand and hitting their hips clean. Another key feature of Edgar's boxing into wrestling is his use of body shots. He's not a big hitter and no one is pissing blood after fighting him, but his frequent level changes to hit the body are almost identical to his level changes for takedowns, numbing the opponent's reactions. Edgar also uses his signature lead leg pickup as a low effort takedown attempt throughout his fights. His left hand goes forward as if to jab, but often drives straight into the opponent's lead shoulder, lightening the opponent's lead leg and allowing Edgar to pick up the single leg attempt from long range. This works best when sprinkled between body jabs and dipping jabs, as the beginning of the takedown attempt is essentially a jab into the opponent's lead shoulder. When he has the single picked up, Edgar can often run straight through, or shuck his way past the opponent's knee and towards their back, or simply drop it and look to strike. The genius of this move is that it takes little effort and no real level change. Edgar will never exhaust himself shooting hard for an opponent in this way, and he will never end up stuck underneath the sprawl or being attacked from the front headlock as a result. This takedown works best against opponents who maintain a sturdy stance and aren't squaring up to throw their right hand, as in the successful takedowns on people like Jeremy Stevens that we saw before. Rafael Lovato used this same takedown to get Gegard Mousasi off his feet several times in their bout, though against a truly great opponent, he could probably do with establishing at least the threat of the jab to set it up. Edgar's striking is often a means to an end, but his kickboxing eye in general is pretty good. Against the somewhat limited striking of Uriah Faber, Edgar put on a masterclass. Every Faber running overhand was met with a catch and counter uppercut, and when Edgar realised that Faber was going to swing a counter left hook every time he thought Edgar would step in, Frankie built off that reaction. Faking and then slipping inside the hook to throw the right hand over the top, as Junior Dos Santos did to Mark Hunt, feinting and getting under the left hand to hit a takedown, or feinting and hammering a right low kick into the back of the exposed hamstring of Faber's lead leg. Jose Aldo exposed one of the most significant exploitable habits in Edgar's game. Most of his opponents follow Edgar around, allowing him to drift laterally and angle off. Aldo instead made Edgar come to him for much of the bout, and Edgar would do so on straight lines with running flurries. Aldo either dropped away and ran Edgar onto the counter right hand, or pivoted off the line of attack and left Edgar looking like a muppet as he ran past. By being so evasive for the most part, Aldo could then set up hard counter knees when he didn't retreat or angle off from Edgar's advances. Giving up so much height and reach, Edgar also has trouble against opponents with good jabs who won't commit themselves in a way that will allow him to duck under and hit their hips. Penn, Aldo and even Ortega had success with the jab against Edgar. Through 2 fights with Edgar, Aldo did almost exactly the same things. While his floating and pivoting footwork meant that Aldo's lead leg was often exposed and vulnerable, and his head was almost untouchable, Edgar completely failed to adapt. On Saturday, Edgar fights Max Holloway. Perhaps not the anti-wrestler that Aldo was, but a man who makes his money with his positioning and his footwork. Edgar also hasn't really done much in the last few years, mainly fighting fading veterans and losing to Brian Ortega. With that being said, Holloway has never met anyone who sets up their takedowns as well as Edgar. And even Ortega, whose takedowns aren't great and who had completed just 1 takedown in the UFC prior to his title fight, was able to get Max down twice. Whatever the case, UFC 240's headliner raises some interesting questions, and those are the fights we like. I make these videos for fun and they aren't monetized, but you can keep up with all my ranting and writing by following Jack Slack MMA on Twitter or checking out my website fightprimer.com.